We have ways via technology to be able to help the water situation that's going on right now. There are ways to do it. However, in my opinion, those ways are being suppressed. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because how do they control us? How do our rulers, right? The people that think that they own us, how do they control us? Right? They control us with food, but what is more important than food? Water. We need water in order to grow food. We need water in order to live, period. So remember, I'm not sure if you saw one of my previous videos where I told you all that I am sure that those people that sit atop the ivory tower are loving this. They are loving that we are having this crisis with droughts and not having enough water to send to our farmers. They're loving this. Why? Because they get to control us even more. There are things out there that we can actually be using. Not only desalination plants, but there are things out there that have been invented by just the average Joe like you and I. And I'm going to play you a small clip of that so that you can see that there are things out there, but the powers that be will refuse, in my opinion, will refuse to use it because they lose control. It's like, for example, let's say that I invented something that replaces gasoline and it costs next to nothing to fuel your vehicles. Do you really think that that's going to get mass produced? Or do you really think that they're going to allow me to bring this out to the public, to mass produce this, to help humanity? You know, what if someone invented something that provides maybe not 100% renewable energy, like electricity? Let's say someone invents a machine that provides electricity, maybe not 100% free, but it may only take a little bit of electricity to start it, and then it generates a lot more electricity than what it actually consumes, meaning that you have more than a net zero, meaning that you have a net positive after you implement this machine in your home. I mean, I've heard this and I've seen some videos on this, but I've never actually seen it in action. But what I'm going to show you here now is actually been put in action. And it is a way that can help the places that are really hurting for water to actually have water. And it doesn't cost a lot. It's actually a lot cheaper than desalination plants. And if this was mass produced at a bigger level, then we should be able to take care of the water issues that we have in our country. However, in my opinion, the powers that be don't want that. They don't want to take care. They don't want this water issue to be fixed. They know it's coming. And I'm going to show you something also that it is nature. It is a cycle that is repeating itself. And ladies and gentlemen, if a layman like myself or yourselves can see this, can figure it out, I do not believe that those that are sitting atop of Capitol Hill with all of their scientists and PhDs, I do not believe that they haven't figured it out already. It's just a way of them keeping it from the public so that they can control our very lives by keeping away from us those things that we really need in order to live and prosper. This video is not a video that just came out. This gentleman here, all right, he invented a machine that fits in a container that produces water out of air. It's almost like a dehumidifier. I'm not sure if that's what it is, but this machine produces anywhere between 1,200 to 2,000 gallons of water a day. And it fits in a 20-foot container. He is the inventor of it. He put it out during that Flint crisis in Michigan where their water was not good and they had a boil advisory and stuff like that. He put it out and people were actually going there getting water for free because this machine that he invented takes very little energy to extract water from the air. All right. And what they're talking about here is that his machine was vandalized. So that's where this starts off at. So here we go.
They drained fuel. They added something to the coolant lines. They played with electronics. And that's not typical vandal stuff.
Less than a week after bringing free water to Flint, Moses West says the green machine he designed to do just that was vandalized.
Once they broke into the machine and they destroyed the generator, very technical, they knew what they were doing. It wasn't just, random vandalism, not at all. They destroyed the battery. They put metal in the fuel system. I saw that when I was cleaning the fuel filter.
West is a military veteran who travels across the country to areas in crisis, bringing a machine he designed like this one that literally makes fresh water out of thin air. He put the green machine out for people along Saginaw Street on Thursday and was hoping to make a big impact. He says before the vandalism, they were giving hundreds of people free water every day.
You got to look at, I'm making anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000 gallons of water a day and giving away for free. That's a lot of money out of somebody's pocket someplace.
This gentleman created a machine that makes 1,200 to 2,000 gallons of water a day. Now, imagine if we had one of those machines. You know how every small community usually has like a park for kids to play in? You saw the size of that machine. Imagine if every small community had a machine that size that would provide 1,200 to 2,000 gallons of water per day. That may not be enough for you to run your utilities as a community, but it may be enough, depending on the size of community that you live in, to have clean water for everyone to drink and cook with. And you noted that he said that the things that were attacked on his machine were things of a very technical nature. It wasn't just some random people that did that. Now, why? Another thing that you notice is that he's saying that that's a lot of money that someone is not making because he's giving away that water for free. So imagine if every community in California, imagine if farmers in California had machines like this that were made at a grander scale, that were made at a bigger scale, that could provide water for their farms. Imagine if we could do that. This is the kind of technology that's out there. Why are they refusing to use this technology to help us instead of spending $4 billion on building a railway system? What's the answer? In my opinion, it's because they know that they have more control over the people when there's no water and there's no food than if there was water and food. There'd be a lot less control. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and play another part of this right here. I have to go in and out. If not, I might get a strike. So this next clip is a news broadcast that was put out, I think it was around December of last year. I think December 10th or December 19th, something like that of last year. And I just want you to listen to this as well. And you would see that this news broadcast, I don't believe is from this country. See, ladies and gentlemen, when you're outside looking in, you can see a lot better than if you're inside looking out. So go ahead and take a listen to this.
Water is the new oil, or should I say the new gold. I say this because water has joined both oil and gold on the Wall Street. It is now officially being traded. You may ask why, and the answer is climate change. Water.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me stop it right there. I'm not sure how many of you remember me doing a video about this months ago, where California started trading water in the stock market. All right, they started trading water in the stock market. And a lot of people ask why. Well, because they're going to be able to make money off of water. How? Because if they commoditize water, they'll be able to charge people more for it, right? And when you charge someone more for water, what does that do? That gives you more control over that population, because usually the water that's coming out of your tap, you don't have a choice how much you pay. Because what are you going to do? Say, okay, I'm going to live without water? Most people can't do that. So they commoditize water, they put it in the stock market, and take a look and see here. You'll see here in a minute or so how much money they're making off of this.
Shortage. The price of water has gone up across the world. In California, it has doubled in 1 year. Recent droughts and wildfires have made matters worse. So an American company called the CME Group has added water to the futures market. For the uninitiated, what is a futures market? It's basically an auction market. So you buy and sell today for delivery in future. The price is set today, but the commodity is delivered in future. The idea is for you to bet on how well a product will sell at a future date and set a price for it today. Now, this kind of trading is done for oil and gold. Futures trading, they call it. Now it will be done for water too. This American company has launched contracts related to California spot water. The announcement was made in September, right after the wildfires. The trade began on the 7th of December. The price of water futures in California traded for about $486.53 per acre foot. The index is based on prices in California's major river basins. This market in California is worth $1.1 billion. We're talking about water here. So it's safe to say that in California, water is now a commodity, a traded commodity, an asset. And going forward, the price of water will fluctuate just like the price of gold or oil.
Look at this. Right now, this is being traded at 857. And that video that I did was only back in December or January. So in a matter of 6 months, the price of water in California has almost doubled. And ask yourselves a question, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think that a water shortage is good for business for those who trade water? So why in the world would they want to change that? Why in the world would they want to change it from being a drought and provide those things to the people that they took an oath to represent by getting that technology like the green machine that gentleman invented, by getting things like desalination plants? This is them having total control, right? This is them having total control and using price to control what people can and can't do, what they can and can't grow. All right. And another thing is I didn't find a clip on this because I ran out of time and couldn't look for it. But there's also diversion of fresh water going into the ocean, that they're allowing that to happen. Why? To protect a fish species. So in other words, they're more concerned about a fish species than farmers being able to grow food, ranchers being able to grow beef, and people being able to pay a reasonable price for food and water to make it available for the people. They rather let it go into the ocean. And look at this. This price has almost doubled since they opened up this market. I think there's a little bit left after this. And then after that, I've got a slideshow to show you.
What is the vision that the state has?
They want to monitor indoor use, and then they want to create a water budget individually per household.
Why is the state pushing for this?
There's a lot of money to be made, and there's a lot of power to be accrued.
There's a lot of money to be made, and there's a lot of power to be accrued. That says it all, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me, I've been saying this for years. You are not in the club. You are not in the club. Okay, I remember during, I think it was in the 2015 time frame, where California was having really heavy water restrictions as well. You know who didn't have a need to restrict their water? Those people sitting on the hill. Those people atop. They were having their water trucked in from different states. Why? Because they could afford it. While everyone else was living on meager, a few gallons a day of water that they could spend, as per se, like he said, giving them a budget. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not part of the club. That is why we need to prepare for everything. The reason I showed you what I just showed you is so that you can see that we do have alternatives. There are things that we can do, that the government can do with the money that they take from us. There are things that they can do, and they decide not to do it. And I feel that the reason they decide not to do it is because government is no longer by and for the people. Government is for government. It is no longer by and for the people. There is a quote that I think says it all. When those people that you elect to protect you or to serve you make laws to protect themselves from you, instead of making laws to protect you from them, meaning government. So she's saying that when government makes laws to protect itself from you, the people it should be serving, instead of making laws to protect you from them, then our community is lost, or that society is lost. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, how many laws do you think they're writing nowadays that are laws to protect us from them? Government is now a force that is here to take care of government. Every year it grows larger. It doesn't look for solutions that can help a problem. Instead, they take advantage of the problem. Never let a crisis go to waste. So when you hear people tell you, oh, everything's going to be all right. Look, I'm not saying that everyone in government is bad. I'm just saying that about 95% of them are. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there are still some very good people in government who really love this country, who love their fellow man. But most of them, ladies and gentlemen, are corrupt. And I think that most would agree with me when I say that. Most are corrupt. That is why it's so important that we prepare. That way, when they decide to pull the plug, because the day that the plug is pulled, the day that the rug is pulled from under us, it will be their decision, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing happens by happenstance when it comes to the government. When the stock market crashes one day, it'll be because they said, okay, it's time to crash the stock market, right? All of this stuff happens not by coincidence. Look at this water thing that's going on in the West Coast. They have the ability to fix this, but they rather not fix it. Now, I want to show you, for those that may not think, that we are going into a terrible drought, okay, for the next several decades. I mean, everything is lining up. I've said several times before that we are going to come to a point where everything is going to line up and come to an apex, and we're going to have the perfect storm. Not only do we have prices that are going to continue to go up because of inflation, but there's also going to be scarcity. We are entering into what is called the grand solar minimum. We are entering, if not, we're about 1/3 of the way into a mega drought that is a millennia-long mega drought, meaning that it only happens every 1,000 to 1,200 years or so. And it is much more severe than what happened during the 1930s in the Dust Bowl. Not only do we have political issues and geopolitical issues going on, not only do we have strife within our own nation, people fighting amongst each other because we are so divided. All of these things will come one day into an apex. And if you're not prepared, if you don't have those things that you need, at a minimum, the very minimum things that you need, you're going to be left by the roadway. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because there are more people in this country, and I would dare to say most countries, if not all, that are not prepared than people that are, right? There are more people that are not prepared than people that are. And the reason, in my opinion, is that it's going to get worse is because those people that are not prepared and refuse to prepare, who are they going to count on to help them? They're going to count on government to help them because it's what they have been taught all their lives. And that's what they're going to count on. And who is government going to point at and say, who's the enemy? Whoa, those terrible hoarders that have actually done something that's responsible for the last several years because they want to make sure that their families are doing okay during times of crises. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the time to prepare is now. The better prepared that we are, the better national security we'll have. The more people in this country that actually are prepared, the more people in this country that have boomsticks as well, the better that our national security is. But to me right now, it seems that the problem is not from the outside. It's from within. Why? Why do I say that? I just found out today that one of the major meat packaging companies, not meat producing companies, all right, there's 4 major meat packaging and distributing companies in the country that put out about 85% of all of the meat that we consume. 4 of them. And one of them is owned by an external country, by a country that is not even here in the U.S. Why does our government allow something in our infrastructure that is so crucial to our way of life to be owned by a different country? So it's from within that it's happening, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to protect ourselves by prepping up as best we can. Now, let me go ahead and show you some scientific data, some scientific proof that we are going into a major mega drought that's going to last decades. What tree rings reveal about America's mega drought? It says, last year, wildfires burned through hundreds of thousands of acres of land in the American West. These fires, extraordinarily in size and intensity, are a symptom of decades-long drought in the region. Now, look at these maps, ladies and gentlemen. If this doesn't tell it all, look at these maps. Look at 2013. I mean, look at 2019, the difference between 2019 and 2021. Incredible. And it says here, exceptional drought conditions are even more widespread in 2021, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, causing experts to fear another catastrophic wildfire season. So just how bad is the Western U.S. drought? We'll take a look at how bad it is. Look at this. Compare 2021 to 2019. Look at that. Incredible. And as you can see, it's a lot worse than any of the other years that they've come up. So let's see what else we have here. It says, one way of answering the question is to compare modern droughts with ancient ones. And scientists can do that by looking at tree rings like this one. So this is a tree ring, a cross section of a tree, so that they can see how a tree grew at a certain year. In 2020, that's exactly what Park Williams did. I'm not going to try to say what he is a metologist of, bioclimatologist. All right, so this is what he did. He studied some tree rings. And this here is a tree ring from the late 80s. If you can see the section that's yellowed out, that's from the late 1980s. It says here, tree rings tell us how moist the soil was in the past. For example, in the late 1980s, the soil had more moisture. That allowed the tree to grow faster, which made rings grow farther apart, right? Because they grew faster. So for those of you that may not know, the rings, every line is like 1 year of that tree's life, okay? But since 2000, the soil has been exceedingly dry, so the tree rings have been close together, which makes sense. Less soil, less growth. Don't worry, we're getting to a good part, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to see this. Scientists can compare this drought to historical droughts by looking at old trees and matching up the rings with older trees. So you can see this, that they're matching up the rings of different trees that are in different parts of their lives. And even older trees, this helps them create a lineage of tree rings to understand how dry the soil was thousands of years ago. Williams and his team analyzed more than 1,500 tree rings timelines across American Southwest. They found some ancient droughts that were so bad that they categorized them as mega droughts. This chart shows the soil moisture levels in the region starting in 800. Right, so that's the soil moisture levels. Just a second, we're going to get here. One mega drought in the late 1100s lasted almost 40 years. In the late 1500s, there was a mega drought so severe that tree ring experts talk about it as if it were some biblical event. But if we track the severity of this 1500 mega drought to current day, look at where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, look at the 1500s. The 1500s was between -1 and -0.5. And look at where we're at here today. We're at about the same spot that we were before. A mega drought of biblical proportions. Why is no one talking about this on the news? Why is the government not using our tax dollars to prepare for this? It says here, we can see that the American Southwest is currently experiencing a drought almost as bad as the legendary 1500s mega drought. And this analysis doesn't even include 2021, which Williams said is on pace to go down as the worst of the droughts in years since the early 1900s. But here is the astounding part. Williams and his team also estimated what drought conditions would look like if human activity had not caused, I'm going to go ahead and read it as it said, had not caused global warming. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, I have to intervene in this. If you go ahead and you look back at all of these things, right, they're almost as bad as it is now. But it's our fault, right? But we're going to just leave it at that. I'm not going to get into the debate about global warming, climate change, all that kind of stuff. I am not a climate denier. I believe that the climate changes every single day. Yesterday, it rained here. Today, it's nice and sunny. The climate changes every day, every year, every 100 years, every millennia, every million years. But anyways, I digress. So take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. And they found that we would still likely be living through a once-in-a-century drought. But human activity accounts for 46% of the severity of the current mega drought. And now that I agree with. I agree that human activity accounts for some of this mega drought. And the reason I agree with that is not because of global warming. The reason I agree with that is because back in 1500, we didn't have 8 billion people on Earth. So they didn't use as much water. We didn't have as many farms. We didn't have as many ranch. There was a lot less people. There was a lot less deep wells. I'm sure they had some wells that were very shallow wells, but there were not the number of people consuming as much as we consume today. It's not because the earth is getting warmer. And if this continues to be this dry, it could become the most severe mega drought on this entire chart. The only reason this drought is lagging behind the 1500s drought is because it's so young, Williams said. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we are not looking at a very bright future when it comes to food production. And we are not looking at a bright future when it comes to our representatives actually doing their jobs and represent us instead of trying to rule us. So I tell you again, that is the theme of the Alaska Prepper channel. Be prepared for anything. Be as prepped as you possibly can within your own limits. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if the government is allowing for all of these opportunities that we have in order to help the conditions that we are currently seeing and that we can see that it's going to be coming our way, if they're just letting those opportunities go by, it tells you one thing and one thing only, in my opinion, that government is not here for us. They're not here to take care of us. And I would say that I agree that government shouldn't be here to take care of us. They should be here to do a few things, one of which is to protect our God-given rights and stop interfering, with the way that people want to live their lives. If they want to do something good, why don't they reproduce those green machines so that there can be one in every county? How much money have we printed in the last year? In the last year and 2 months or so, this country here has printed more than 30% of all the money that has ever existed in the United States of America. More than 30% in 1 year. Have they put up one desalination plant? No. Have they put up one of those green machines? No. Instead, people went and tried to get rid of the desalination machines by sabotaging them. Not saying that it was a government entity. They haven't done anything, ladies and gentlemen. All they do is work on pet projects that get us nowhere and that get stuck and that make people rich. That's why we have to take care of ourselves. And it's not going to change. It's not going to change. All right? That's what government does. Government eats what you produce. And the government produces nothing, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it's so important that we prep. I'll tell you what, that was the longest that I've talked straight in a row without stopping. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your support. Victor, do you want to say bye? Victor's going to say bye real quick. Goodbye. All right. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out. Bless you guys. See you all Sunday. Have a great weekend ahead.